This was a wasted opportunity. There was an opportunity there for the reporter to really try and drill in and drill down on what Kamala's economic policy would be, right? And it just, don't let her get away with stuff like that. Don't let her try and just go back to a bunch of emotional hot button sort of issues. It really pin her down. And I'm a little surprised it didn't happen. Maybe the reporter's more concerned about her next interview with a potential Kamala Harris as president than she is about really forcing her to answer the questions. But, here was a good opportunity here. She should have pushed her harder on tariffs. Donald Trump talking about tariffs. And he's very specific when he talks about tariffs. He's talked about tariffs on John Deere. You want to send your jobs to Mexico, John Deere? Guess what? You're going to get a 200% tariff. He outlined that just the other day. He's talked about tariffs on China and increasing those tariffs. By the way, his tariffs on China, the Biden-Harris administration kept them. If tariffs are so bad, as Kamala Harris is insisting, then why is it that they are still there? This is one of the things that the reporter did ask her about. I want you to listen, but she didn't press her. She didn't press her hard enough. Let's see.
Tariffs aren't unique to President Trump. President Biden has tariffs in place. He's actually looking to potentially implement more. Where do you come out on? Is there a good tariff, a bad tariff?
Well, part of it is you don't just throw around the idea of just tariffs across the board, and that's part of the problem with Donald Trump. Frankly, I'm going to, and I say this in all sincerity, he's just not very serious about how he thinks about some of these issues.
Really?
And one must be serious and have a plan.
Like yours, Kamala? The plan that has yet to materialize? The plan that gives us a whole bunch of lies about how inflation was already there when you got into office? No, it wasn't, actually. Prices have gone up, way up, ever since you put that Inflation Reduction Act in, which I wouldn't be bragging about, along with, well, the third stimmy, giving people, I guess, more money to spend, which you want to do more of, right? With your $25,000 for first-time home buyers, special sweetener for those that are coming across the border. If you are a first-time family buying a home, Kamala's going to try and give you even more. I mean, it's really sort of bizarre. She wants to take from you to give to them. I call that wealth redistribution. So why didn't the reporter ask that question? She didn't. She let her get away with all of this stuff. And then when the anchor of the hour in which this interview was done, Chris Hayes said, hey, tell us more. She admitted that Kamala didn't answer the questions and yet said she didn't care. What kind of journalist doesn't care? Watch.
Worked, and one could watch that and say, well, she didn't give a clear, direct answer. That's okay, because we are not talking about clear or direct issues.
The question about inflation and prices, this to me is it's sort of one of the most frustrating aspects of this campaign. The thing that people are 100% correctly Right.
So there were just missed opportunities all over the place. And I question why that is. I really do. Because we need Kamala Harris to really go on record, you guys, and tell us what her plan is. And this was a perfect opportunity to do that, but she didn't. And you know what? It gets worse. I mean, it actually got so much worse. I need to show you more of this. And you know what? When you wonder why she doesn't win in November, those of you on the left, it's in part because of this lack of substance, this desire to go back to all this emotional nonsense instead of actually providing people with real answers. You know what? We don't care. We don't care that you came from a middle class household, right? How many times do we have to hear that her mother raised them in middle class? I mean, I'm sorry. Enough is enough. Watch.
And assistance to state and local governments around transit dollars. And looking holistically at the connection between that and housing. And looking holistically at the incentives we in the federal government can create for local and state governments to actually engage in planning in a holistic manner that includes prioritizing affordable housing.
Can we holistically do that? I mean, really? How many times do we have to say holistically? It tells you she has no concept of what she's talking about. Are these crutches? Some people say, Kamala says holistically. I think they are crutches. I don't think she actually understands. I'm telling you this, guys. I mean, I've covered the economy for since the year 2000, 24 years I've been in this business. I have never seen a candidate so ill-informed on economic policy as Kamala Harris. And think about the fact that she is now the vice president of the United States of America. We get a president who doesn't know what day it is. He doesn't know what city he's in. Literally, doesn't know what city he's in. In fact, today, he's in New York, and he volunteered to the room, welcome to D.C. So we got a ragtag team there running things in the White House. And everyone's terrified that Donald Trump's coming back. I'm kind of terrified about this crew. Really terrified about this crew, but maybe this crew won't last so long. Let's hope not, because I'm not sure that I can hear the word holistically.
And assistance to state and local governments around transit dollars.
Economic policy this much.
And looking holistically at the connection between that and housing. And looking holistically at the incentives we in the federal government can create for local and state governments to actually engage in planning in a holistic manner that includes prioritizing affordable housing.
And giving out $25,000, whether it's constitutional or not, to any first-time homebuyer. Like, that's actually going to reduce housing prices. You understand how absurd this is? What has happened? Think about it with college tuition. All these freebies from government, all these loans, the Perkins loan, this loan, that loan. They're basically giving kids a blank check. And then what happens? Oh, the universities raise their prices because, you know what, if you gave me a blank check to go out and buy a home, I could buy any home I wanted, right? And then all of a sudden, there's all this pressure on housing prices, up, and away. That's exactly what would happen with Kamala Harris's nifty little plan to have $25,000 each.